Ramel, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, brother.
So we are so happy to be here today. First of all, thank you for having us. And this theme, spectrum, is something we think about all the time at App Harvest. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do for the world and for the US is provide a spectrum of options on agriculture, right? So when you think about the challenge of climate change and trying to feed 9 to 10 billion people over the next 20, 30 years, we need every available option. So at our core, App Harvest is about options and spectrum. And the lane we're in is what's called controlled environmental ag. Technology sourced from the Netherlands that allows the ability to grow vegetables, agriculture, 365 days a year in a controlled environment. That's what we're about. So fundamentally, there are three aspects to what we're trying to do. The first is we're trying to reinvent agriculture, create options, create better re-engineered agriculture. Second, we're all about Kentucky. We're Kentucky-based. We're about the people of Kentucky, and we want to help bring jobs, bring technology, bring opportunity to the state. The third, and Ramel will talk about all these a little later, we're about nutrition and eating healthy, right? Vegan-based diet, eating more vegetables in your diet, eating our tomatoes. We'll be producing 40 million pounds of tomatoes over the next couple of years. So three aspects to what we do: reinventing ag, prosperity for the region, and better nutrition. We've got about 20 minutes with all of you, and we want you to hear our journeys. We want to start with our journeys. So Ramel, how did a kid from Brooklyn, I'm from Barbados, how did a kid from Brooklyn end up in Lexington?
Wow, love of sport. So I moved to the great Bluegrass State when I was 18 or 19 years old. I had just graduated from the very prestigious IMG Academy. I got the opportunity to have a full ride. I came to University of Kentucky to receive a scholarship. I was also the starting point guard and captain of the basketball team, which was a great privilege and an opportunity of a lifetime. That experience was topped off by receiving my degree from the University of Kentucky in agriculture, food and environment. And after I graduated school here, I went on to continue my professional career. I played over in Turkey. I had the pleasure of playing in Israel and France, Croatia, traveling the world playing the game that I love. It was early 2017, and I took a trip home just to take a visit, see my family, as I often do when I get a bit of a break. And you know, this trip was different. I got to see my grandmother, my close friends and family members dealing with health issues and concerns. My grandmother went blind, and it just got to a point where getting on that plane and going to another country, it just didn't make me feel good anymore. My heart was at home with my family, with my community members. So it was just time to make a shift. I realized how food was a big problem. And I also learned how it was also a solution, growing food the right way. So I have received a phone call from Webb, our CEO, who is my brother. We met at the University of Kentucky, and we've just cherished our relationship over the years. And we had a real conversation about community, about the lack of economic mobility, the challenges that we're facing in our community, and then also the fact that it's 23 million Americans that are dying from preventable diseases. And I see it, I live it every day, and I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something, so I joined the fight. Jonathan told me about his vision of making Appalachia the ag tech capital of the world. Supplying 80% fresh produce to, the eastern seaboard. So we came, and it was a lonely journey. When we were out here just trying to make it happen, it was very difficult, extremely. But a day like today makes it all worth it. We're gonna be hiring. We got our first candidates coming in, and I couldn't be more privileged and just proud of this work that we're doing.
Excellent, excellent. And you're, as community director, talk a little bit about what you're trying to get done in terms of workforce development and education.
Oh gosh, so we trying to, provide sustainable jobs. We're trying to provide access and opportunity to the next generation, our future leaders and innovators. We were privileged to learn about this new technology, to understand how it works, to build out these systems. And now we want to share that. We want to share that knowledge and increase, the interest in the ag tech industry, and hopefully cultivate some really prominent entrepreneurs at the same time.
And talk specifically about what you're doing at the high school. I think you're doing work at Shelby High School.
Yes, at Shelby Valley High School. So we have an amazing ag tech program. So ideally what we did was we got a shipping container, and it was super revamped into a hydroponic vertical drip irrigated system. It's state of the art. Our students can control the whole climate of the container farm on their cell phone. pH, humidity, temperature, irrigation, all of these things. And at the same time, we developed a 6-part food resiliency curriculum that our students can also engage, learn about the food system, learn about how to impact their community, how to be resilient, these new systems of growing food, and then also how to take all that knowledge and then develop it and become an entrepreneur. So our student growers, they partner with, oh my gosh, it's just so amazing. They partner with local chefs in the community. They grew food for TEDx events. They showed up before school just to grow food. And it was very inspiring for me. And it's a big part of what drives me every single day to just do the work that we're doing right now.
Baller turned farmer and nutrition advocate. Pretty cool. So my journey, I was born in Barbados in the Caribbean. I grew up in Brooklyn, right, Flatbush, which is where every West Indian, every West Indian ends up there. And then I moved to DC, where I went to high school and college. I went to Georgetown undergrad, I went to Wharton grad. I've always known I wanted to be a marketer. And I read a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People when I was in my 20s. And my vision became to be industry agnostic and to get as many experiences as possible in business and marketing. So I started with Procter & Gamble. I moved to travel with Radisson. I ran marketing for Radisson in Minneapolis. I ran marketing for Comcast Cable in Philadelphia. I worked in marketing for Showtime. I ran marketing for World Wrestling, which, Webb and Ramel think is quite funny, but if you know wrestling, amazing brand, does a lot of good in the world and puts on a hell of a show. So I did that job for years, and then I ended up spending about 8 years running marketing for a group called the Nature Conservancy, which is one of the largest environmental groups in the world. And that's when I fell in love with this conversation. And the conversation is really about how do you help people, how do you bring social purpose, how do you address the largest issues in the world. And then I met Jonathan Webb, in the fall of 2016. And he told me about a vision he had to do more for the people of this region. And let me tell you, I'm not from the region. I don't pretend to know the region. I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. But the love and the respect that the team, the management team and the board has for the state of Kentucky and the people of Appalachia is unparalleled. We talk about it every day. We'll talk a little bit about labor practices, but this is one of the most genuine brands I've ever seen in its commitment. So if you've ever met Jonathan, when he starts to pitch you, like halfway through, you're there, right? And so he pitched me back then, and I followed the progress of the company, and I was happy to come on board officially recently. I've been doing some things behind the scenes, but as they begin to elevate, right, so they broke ground in Moorhead. The Moorhead project will be completed towards the end of this year, and we'll actually be selling tomatoes, and I wanted to be part of that journey. Ramel, so talk about, and this is kind of not ready for prime time, so a little little inside baseball. But connect the dots between your basketball background, Kevin Johnson, investor, and a vision you may have about the connection between education, youth, athletes.
Great question. I studied at the University of Kentucky, and I'm not certain how many of you know this, but we have 29 or 30 NBA players from the University of Kentucky playing in the NBA.
And how many total NBA players?
And I believe it's roughly 400, 450 players.
Right. And how many does UK have?
29, 30.
Correct.
So that's a very large amount. And when you think about our platform as athletes, we have to use that voice. I think about my personal experience playing basketball. When I think about nutrition, it goes hand in hand. Our body is our temple, and we definitely have to be mindful and aware of the things that we're putting inside of our bodies. It's our temple. So definitely want to fill it up with plant-based foods because that's what's going to keep the engine running. And then also, you mentioned Kevin Johnson, who's a legend in the game, and then went on, after being this legendary basketball player, to become the mayor of Sacramento. Talk about leadership, talk about setting an example. So I'm inspired by gentlemen like that, and he was inspired by our vision to continue to grow healthy food. And then when we also look at the current climate of African American farmers, it's less than 2%. And something has to be done about that, because if we're not feeding ourselves, who is? Access to healthy fruits, nutrition, and using the platform that we created for ourselves by dedicating our life to athletics.
Yeah, I can't tell all of you enough the deep and abiding commitment we all have to this. During COVID, and we're still under COVID, but April, May, June, we'd be texting with Jonathan early in the morning when you would see these stories of the ravages of COVID on people of color, and the consistent theme, comorbidity, pre-existing conditions. And we're like, this is preventable. Mm-hmm. This is preventable through diet, mm-hmm. right? Talk a little bit about the work of your grandmother. You don't talk a lot about that, but again, what I want to do for all of you is connect these dots, because this is a for-profit enterprise, App Harvest Farm, producing 40 million pounds of tomatoes. This is a social enterprise. This is a B Corp, a benefit corp. So we hold ourselves to a higher standard of what we need to do. We need to produce profit for our shareholders, but we need to do right by our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are employees. Our stakeholders are our community. So we're always thinking about the nexus between the work we do in communities. So here's another unformed thought, but it's something we've talked about. So talk about the work of your grandmother in Brooklyn, what she's doing, and how that could connect down the road to our vision.
Absolutely. So, I chose to study agriculture, food and environment at the University of Kentucky because of my grandmother. She started a kitchen back home in Brooklyn where we would provide food for the hungry in our community. Today that work still stands as we help provide food to 400 families in the community, but that seed was placed in me a long time ago. So when I was choosing what I wanted to study, it was clear that I wanted to do something in food. And I never thought that I would ever be a farmer.
Right.
But the universe just has this way of guiding you, if you express that passion. Help me out there. What was the second part of that question?
Just how could that connect to us? So again, we're going to be one of the largest greenhouses in North America. Mm-hmm. We're going to produce, pardon my French, a shitload of food, right? And so we think, we've had conversations with Jonathan where we've said, if we were in full production mm-hmm. during COVID, mm-hmm. what would we do differently? So we've all seen, like it blew my mind, the photo juxtaposition of a half a mile long line of people all over the country, New York, Chicago, Kentucky, for food banks. people could not feed their families. That's over here. And then the photo op, the video of farmers dumping milk, eggs, etc. And it just says something is fundamentally wrong with our system.
Absolutely.
And then you hear the story of, it will be a multi-million-dollar company. And then you hear the story of his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a millionaire,
Mm-hmm.
and she's able to feed hundreds and thousands of people in Brooklyn. So, you know, I think, and again, it's unformed, but somehow, some way, we have to figure out a way through our platform to be working with people like your grandmother down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about people.
Right.
You know, we're talking about people, and then we're talking about our planet, right? So, I mean, we got to eat.
Right.
We have to eat. We, in this position that we're in, we got to help provide access to eating these foods. And then when we think about our planet, so we talk about it, as you mentioned, you know, we see grocery stores selling, you know, outdated produce that could easily be grown right here with pride at home.
Right.
In Appalachia.
Right.
You know, and that's what we're doing our best to do. You know, we focused on people, we focused on our planet, and we're doing that purposefully.
So let's talk about retail a minute, and you know, part again of the vision of the brand. The typical state of play of vegetables in America. 40, 50, 60% of them, depending on the type of vegetable, imported in, predominantly from Mexico. Not sure of their standards on pesticides, chemical pesticides, but they're not great. Not sure of their labor practices, but we know they're not great. Us, we're going to use as few chemical, if any, pesticides at all. We will use 90% less water than open field ag. And we are committed to be a best practitioner when it comes to labor, right? Healthcare, breaks, vacation, all of it. We want to be an exemplar in the U.S. ag industry and how we treat our staff.
Absolutely.
So we've just got a couple of minutes left. I wanted to talk about all of you. And so one of the reasons why we jumped at the opportunity to do this is, at the end of the day, App Harvest is committed to creativity. Show the shirt, brother. Okay? Faith and grit.
Faith and grit.
So we have a retail location in downtown Lexington. I don't know who does that. I'm a marketing guy. Like Coca-Cola, 100-year company, billion-dollar company, has the Coke experience in downtown Atlanta. Here we are in Lexington. We have the App Harvest experience. We have a physical retail store with gear. So creative and the expression of the brand is part of our DNA. And I've told Jamie and some of the other folks, so we have an open invitation to all of you. We want to figure out how to work with you. This brand is driven by creativity and innovation. You're a creativity and innovation hub right here in the state. So I don't know what that looks like, but we're going to be building successive greenhouses, 3, 4, 5, 7, multiple. We have a lot of real estate. You're artists. You know what to do with real estate. So over time, we want to figure out how to connect and have a relationship with this community, because we're innovators and we're creators in our own way. Not as creative as you are, right? Certainly. But we have a love of creativity. We have a respect of creativity. So ending thoughts from Mel, 10 years from now, right? 10 years from now, you'll be an old man, brother. Be an old man. What's your hope for App Harvest and the impact it has on the world?
My hope for App Harvest is that we continue to drive home this mission of how powerful it is to eat healthy food.
Great.
How powerful it is. And we want to do that as many places as possible. And we want to inspire as much as the next generation as we possibly can.
Excellent. Jamie?
Oh my goodness. First off, you know, if we were in a big room, everyone would be like applauding. I am so excited. All right, if you guys want to do something, if you guys are there, and if you just want to turn your video on and just wave to them and applaud them and say what that meant to them. We're seeing these faces come online. Look at those. I've got Colette. We've got Marisol, we've got Terry, we've got Kathy, Paul. Oh my goodness, everyone is waving to you.
Wow.
It's hard, you know, I miss all that applause and that chatter, but Thank you guys so much. That was amazing. You guys kind of like peeled back the curtain a little bit and let us look into your world and look into what was going on. And this is my dirty little secret. I went to U of L, so I don't like to say that in Lexington that I'm a Louisville fan, but also peeling into your world of basketball as well. And you guys couldn't see it, but their imagery is rotating behind them. So the beautiful work that they are doing has been rotating, and that's just been really inspiring to look at that. And really, I get the feel of what you guys said, that design and art is really important to you guys. You guys can just see that in your photography that's scrolling behind you.